Hey guys, it's ViewMasters Reactions, and this is another Umbrella Academy type reaction. It is the one everyone's been asking for. It is Robert Sheehan and Tom Hooper promote the Netflix TV show. A couple minutes in the beginning of nonsense. That isn't necessary, and then there's a trailer. So I'm cutting all that out. It is starting from where the trailer leaves off, just so you guys know. It's not like just abruptly starting. So here we go.
It just looks so much fun. So, was that the first time you've seen the trailer? You were looking at it like you hadn't seen it before?
No, we just enjoy it every time.
I've seen it on a small phone-sized screen. It was nice to see it on that big gigantic
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah.
They might be my favorite duo, but Diego and Klaus are pretty good together,
it's
too.
It's a very big nod to the comics, let's put
Okay.
it that way. It's very much inspired by the comics.
Yeah.
The first episode in particular is, I would say, very accurate. But what we've done...
I've never read the
what Steve
comics.
Blackman
Most
has
of you
done,
know that.
Our amazing showrunner has just broadened out these characters and this world. So it's grounded it a lot more. You know, a lot of the comic is so wacky that you sort of think it doesn't live within this world.
Right.
Whereas we've managed to make these characters human and, you know, what they would really be like.
What kind of prep did you end up doing for your characters then? Because, I mean, you're both coming at these characters from very different
That's a
ends
very
of the
interesting
spectrum.
jacket Luther has on.
How did you prepare?
You know, I tried a few
Is it
different
soccer?
things for this character because
Looks soccer related.
well, you know, he was kind of almost baked really by the first time that I read the script. But then, you know, like when you're an actor, there's a lot
I
of
love that
doing
poster.
stuff in a room alone. Like
That is a
trying to
great poster.
Figure out the physicality and the voice and, you know, how this person might hold themselves and why. So I did lots of
Isn't that great
video
that
diaries
nowadays
and,
we could have a superhero that's
you know, writing down stuff
high
as the
and
character,
drunk
like,
all the
sort of trying
time?
to get into an automatic
Well, he got
writing
better,
sense.
though.
But to be honest, I don't know if any of that helped. But you know, I mean, you just sort of, I was like filming myself a lot and stuff. trying to
Doing
figure
what?
out-
Klaus
just trying
is
to figure out
definitely, or
his
Robert Sheehan has
posture
definitely
and
got
his
some
physicality
fashion.
and,
Okay.
You know,
He's quite flouncy, isn't he?
he's very flouncy.
He's wearing
kind of-
shoes.
He's quite fluid.
Yeah.
There he is.
A
yeah.
lot of the time he's
Super
barefoot
hot
or
something
in a
else.
dress or something.
That was actually not on a photo shoot. That was just they just caught Rob on a stroll.
Coming
Yeah,
out.
that was
of
at breakfast one
making-
That was
morning.
a breakfast. Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
He's down to a quarter bottle
There he
at
is, big
breakfast.
guy.
I
As
believe
you can
it.
see, that's not my actual body, and
I was really disappointed, I'll be honest.
thought that guy's hench. The big thing for me was I was so desperate to have
His
that body on the suit on to know what
His
Luther
face
felt like.
is
You know,
very
the thing is with
skinny.
Luther,
I was going to say skinny. I saw
this body that
skates.
he has, he's not that comfortable in it. You know, he's
He must have
quite-
dropped a lot
he
of
feels
weight
quite
since the
awkward, It's
shoot.
quite cumbersome. So my prep really came when I actually got to have the suit on. So I sort of almost like learnt on the job a little bit. Like once I got it on and I was moving around.
You
the
could see in
costume,
that
I was like,
picture,
okay,
his
this is what
face
this
is
guy
thick,
feels
like he's
Right.
bulked.
But
Warm.
very warm.
He's
yeah,
skinny
and,
again.
We shot through.
He's
Toronto
still
winter
built.
and then into the summer. So we were shooting in sort of like minus 25 some days, and then at the end of the shoot we were
Minus
shooting in like
25.
30 degrees Celsius. So
Yeah, that day from the trailer where we're all at the funeral dropping the ashes, that was about minus 15 degrees Celsius, and they had rain machines on us, which had to be freezing rain, or otherwise
Oh
it
my
would.
God.
It would
And
vapor.
Klaus is in very little
Because
clothing
it was
most of the
too warm, so
show.
we were like shivering, and then they're like, "And rain machine."
thank you.
So those umbrellas, we were.
Luther is the
hiding
biggest and the
before we
most dressed up, so he must have been the most comfortable.
Before, any of you?
We hadn't, no.
So did you have to do any chemistry reads? Because so much sort of relies on your little relationships, these kind of cross relationships between the seven of you.
I don't think I know I did some chemistry reads with some actresses who were being seen for Alison, but none of those girls ended up doing it. I mean,
Oh, right.
it's a
Terrible chemistry.
with all of them. I was just like, no.
After a while, you have to wonder, is it me?
I did.
What is that from?
But,
That's from a movie. I mean, a lot of
who
people
ended
say
up playing
that.
the role. We were very fortunate. I think as a group, we were very fortunate that we all ended up just getting on very, very well from the off. And a lot of that comes down to having a group of actors that are very open to each other and to learning from each other and being open to what someone's offering as a character, you know. And yeah, we all became like a bunch of siblings very quickly.
And how physically demanding was it? So you kind of touched on that. Obviously, you're playing a drug addict and you're playing somebody who is supposed to be pretty hench, but.
I mean, I didn't have to do anything. You know, it was great.
Just
you know,
scrawny
nice
to begin with.
The macho lads.
They're using terminology I'm not familiar with. I'm assuming hinged is like wrecked or fucked up.
Do the better.
Never heard of that.
And I was very dedicated.
He was very good at that. Very good.
Did you then have to do loads of training for this?
I have a fair bit of fighting to do, and there's some dancing as well. That was the big element of the show.
Tell me about the dancing.
They always talk about the dancing,
thing I didn't expect,
but I guess it was one of the most notable
things.
things.
How much dancing I would be doing. But I get to play out some dance moves.
Oh, that's right. He danced with Allison too.
Few people have seen on dance.
He had that
around
whole
the world,
big scene,
and I pulled them out in this show.
And actually, interesting bit of trivia: Ellen Page's wife, Emma, choreographed a beautiful dance that takes place between Tom and Ellie later on in the series.
Interesting
really
information. The dance I just talked about.
It's quite performance arty.
It was very beautifully done. It was cool how he transformed back into regular
As
Luther.
well as my crab, I do this move called the crab.
The crab, my favorite.
Yeah.
David did that as well.
Did David do that? Possibly. David's got some move. He plays Diego, the guy on the end here. He's got some serious moves.
Diego was doing more like Madonna, wasn't he?
Another clip of you two in
I feel like Diego was going like this or something. I don't recall, but Diego did have. Everyone was pretty awesome in that scene.
Who's asked, why do you think the genre captivates audiences so much? So I'm guessing like the sort of superhero-esque genre.
They got a long interview with this girl. This is the longest one I've seen. Like one solid
something
interview.
About a superhero is something that sometimes I think all of us either long to be or long to have to be like a savior, you know, and it's these extra powers, and you have these people in real life that you come across and they feel almost super. It's like, you know, these amazing magicians and stuff. People gravitate towards them because they have these what seems to be a power, and it's just outside of the ordinary. And being outside in the ordinary has always been a thing that's been interesting, I think. And the more interesting the power, the more interesting the group and the show, I suppose, and we all have quite interesting powers.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a bit more about your powers? Because I feel like we haven't touched on...
Are they allowed to? This is before the show launched. I looked at the thing. It was 4 days before the show came out.
You know, variations on things we've seen before, but I think what's very interesting and unique about the show is the characters who have the powers, they have a fallibility.
He's got crazy eyes.
So
I'm just realizing his eyes are like
their powers because
like emerald
never
green.
taught these people to be people. He didn't teach them how to be emotionally stable. So like they all have these abilities, but they don't know how to be human beings behind them, how to wield them correctly, responsibly, whatever. So they end up doing huge damage to their supposedly normal lives, you know. They're like disabilities. They're these things that alienate them from the rest of the world. And my guy can commune with the dead, but the problem is that the dead keep communing with him. Do you know what I mean? He keeps badgering him, and so
very
Steve
much like
Blackman
Whoopi
was
Goldberg
the
in
showrunner of the
Ghost.
show. He took it and he wanted to
Patrick Swayze. He got Patrick Swayze.
You know, take it from the comic book and couch it in a reality that we all recognize. So instead of Klaus levitating in the graphic novel, he's just a dude who's just takes a lot of drugs to suppress the dead from badgering him. You know, it's the only thing that can temporarily kind of suppress his ability that's not in control. And the whole thing is just an allegory for drug addiction. You know, he essentially takes drugs to silence the voices in his head,
demons.
the emotional turmoil. And that's what's so interesting about the show, that all of these powers are
suppressing the demons, but in real life,
really,
well, they're not all demons. They're ghosts.
They're metaphors for things that people cope with on, you know, in everyday life.
And also, you'd expect in a sort of series where, especially in this day and age, there would be a lot of reliance on special effects and CGI. So there's a moment we saw in the trailer where you're talking to a monkey. What was actually in front of you there, for example?
Well, that you'd be describing is Pogo.
Yes, of course, Pogo.
The chimpanzee sort of butler and I suppose uncle, I suppose, to the
chimpanzee butler uncle.
Yeah,
great. It's exactly right.
It's two ways, basically. On the day when we're shooting, we have this marvelous actor called Ken, who is how tall is Ken? He's like 4 foot something.
Yeah, maybe not even.
Yeah.
He's about 3'10"
Yeah.
I'd say.
Okay.
And about the size of what Pogo is there.
Actually,
And
but then again, he's like the same height as Ellen in some shots.
Ellen is
So
particularly
maybe
short.
he's slightly taller.
Yeah.
I love seeing Ella next to you, by the way. That's just my
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it's the best vision. Yeah, and that's pretty
That's
accurate.
that,
That's
yeah.
basically what it is. Yeah. I love that Aiden is.
I like how seriously he ended that too. Like, so
maybe
maybe he is slightly taller.
Ken Hall, you know, one of the great improvisational comedy dudes of Toronto. So he was great, you know. He was always
Really?
kind of, he was, you know, if you threw a curveball at him, you know, he was ready for it.
Wow.
I feel like you do like to throw a lot of curveballs.
Oh yeah, he's yeah.
Right?
I get bored very easily, you know. But they encourage that type of behavior in this job, so it's great.
Actually, can we talk about some of your more outrageous moments? Because you get a lot of them pretty much straight away. So is there anything you've ever that's been like, actually, I'm not going to do that? Or do you say yes to everything? It feels like you say
I
yes.
can't imagine him saying no
this
to
was very
anything.
much a yes job.
Yeah.
There's no point in, you know, going into it half-cocked,
God, you look good there.
bedraggled.
Yeah, that's the face of a man who will try anything.
Yeah. Crack addict.
Because you
That is a
asked
great.
about,
Is that from the
making
movie, or is that like
as well.
a shot like
it was
in
you.
between scenes? Because he's looking right at the camera,
Completely
smiling.
drunk at the time. Yeah, no, I do get quite. Yeah, in the
Quite naked.
second episode, I do get quite naked.
Yeah.
I had a full.
That's when he was
scene
in the
with
thong.
Pogo, just wearing like a
Leopard
tiny
thong.
little skimpy brief, actually.
I enjoyed
So
it.
he was about crotch height.
That's when we had the drug montage.
Lucky
Crazy.
Pogo.
Those scenes from Labyrinth where you just see David Bowie's
David
crotch.
Bowie's like
From-
helmet
from
just
Hoggle.
sort of drift into
Same as
shot.
Pogo to you.
What an
I wish I
image.
was that blessed, Tom.
I bet you can't wait to see this based on that description alone. It also stars the incredible Mary J Blige. So what was it like working with her? Like her rocking up on set with you guys?
Yeah, Mary's wicked. She's so
Yeah.
sweet.
She's so lovely, yeah. She's
Yeah.
such a sweetheart of a human being.
Yeah.
She looks terrifying there.
She does. Yeah, she plays a ruthless assassin in the show.
Yeah.
Does it sort of change the atmosphere having somebody of that like caliber who you know probably more for sort of
I don't think
I don't
so.
think it
Another
does.
discipline.
No,
No?
particularly because I think everyone who is cast in this show is very down to earth.
Yeah,
you know?
there was no fanfare around
No.
Mary. You know, she was, and she was there in the humblest sense. She'd say things like, "Oh, I'm just here. I really want to learn. I want to get better at acting, and it's nice watching you
How
guys." And
old
you're
is
like,
she?
"You
I
were
feel like she's got to be like
Oscar-nominated last year. You know, I think you're doing
60s,
all
maybe
right."
late 50s.
Very
She's been
humble
around
and
a
sweet.
long
Did you
time.
learn anything from watching each other? Because there are so many of you with different
She's
sort of
probably like
techniques.
late
What did you pick up?
50s.
Absolutely, and the thing is, what's so great is every character is so different.
Yeah.
Right? So they're so brilliant in their own way. But I had times. I was telling him that I had a time when I was listening to a monologue he was doing, and I had the next line, and I was watching it. That's really good. And then
Oh,
there was
thanks,
this silence. I was like,
Missing your
me.
line.
That's really lovely. And you were filming in Canada, so you mentioned. What did you do in your downtime then? If it was so cold, what could you do?
You were playing hockey on the slide, weren't you?
I
Because
think Rob just
every
doubted
slide-
me there. The showrunner didn't know, but I don't think Netflix knew I was playing ice hockey at the time in case I got injured. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I played a bit
Too
of ice
late
hockey.
now.
It was something I always wanted to play, so I was like, when in Rome. So I got myself some skates and a stick and stuff, and got playing some ice hockey, which was great fun. Yeah.
Amazing. And also, Ellen Page is Canadian, right? So was she sort of? Did she give you any tips? Of
I didn't
how to
know
do
that.
the
She
show?
did live in
Oh, yeah, I did know that,
Toronto.
'cause
it-
when
was
she did
17,
Juno, I
18,
remember
she
that.
lived there for a couple of years. Me and her would go off on these random hikes to like woodland areas on the edge of the town. You know, we'd sort of take a Sunday and go, all right, we're going to take this train and then this train and get a bus up to this Carruthers Woods and then like go hiking. And we just like go off on these random treks. It's nice.
Amazing. That
Yeah.
sounds so cool. You also each have like a young counterpart
Yeah.
in this as well. So did you have to do sort of? Did you meet them beforehand? Did you work on your sort of characteristics
I don't think they were
together?
never in the same scenes,
They kind
though.
of pop up throughout.
We
Yeah.
did. Do you remember we were sort of figuring out with the youngins
Look at
what
Ben.
each of our action
Ben
figures
is
would
just
look like.
showered in blood. That's
Which
hilarious.
were made for the show. You know, they show up as memorabilia in the show. So we were kind of exchanging physicality ideas, I think, for the characters. But they're such sweethearts. They were so lovely, and
they just wanted to know more.
I mean, they could have probably
we were
filmed in
doing
one
as
day
adult
all
selves
the
and
kid
stuff,
scenes,
and,
and
yeah,
they might
were
not
great. They
have
were great
even
to
have
have around. It was so cool to
interacted
see
with them.
mini versions of us running around
they were
together.
incredibly mature.
They were
More than you guys.
Yeah, I think about myself when I was their age, and I was like, I wouldn't be that mature about this. Yeah,
I was like, I bet you're all shirking your homework now. You're on a TV show. Screw school, yeah. And they're like, oh, no. No, we have to finish our homework. That's the only way that we can come and do this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right, okay, right. They were very, very well.
He's
behaved.
encouraging like horrible
And
behavior.
what are the Umbrella Academy fans like?
Well, we're yet to meet many of them.
I was going to say they
but
don't.
But
It hasn't come out
the ones
yet,
that I've
according
met
to
so
this.
far, the Umbrella Academy comic, is they're incredibly passionate about it, and a lot of them are My Chemical Romance fans as well. And with that comes a great responsibility to get it right and to not mess up their vision of what the characters
with
are.
every
I think you get
comic
that with all
book
comic book
saga.
fans, because
Yeah.
they have an idea of what their superhero, their favorite superhero.
I
should
haven't
be
read
like.
the comics.
lot of
I'm
pressure.
actually curious
It is,
how
yeah.
accurate
Yeah,
it is, or
You-
how.
the best
I'm
you
sure
can
they
do is
made
do your
changes,
research
but I
and then
wonder if
just
those
try and
changes were all right.
Capture all those things that you think they have probably fallen
I
in love with.
I
those
dug the
characters
show.
and
I
then bring
really
that
really
out more.
enjoyed it.
I'm really sorry, that is all we've got time for, unfortunately. But the Umbrella Academy is
It
gonna be
always
out
goes
on
by so
Netflix
quick.
on the 15th of Feb, next
Correct.
Friday.
Yeah.
I'm always talking
and
about
we'll be back
how
next week
they're
with some
long videos,
amazing
but they go
guests
by
on
so
board. Please
quick.
give it up one more time for Tom and Robert. Thank you
Thank you,
so
guys.
much for joining us.
Two of my favorite interviewers. I love number 5, but he's not really funny, or should I say as funny as Diego, Luther, and Klaus. They're hilarious. Specifically, obviously, Klaus is number 1 by far. Diego and Luther have their moments where I'm always like, which one's better? I honestly would give the edge a little to Diego, which is funny because I hated his guts episode 1. But Diego, like, I quickly corrected myself after episode 1 and was like, this dude is actually pretty cool. And then he got better and better and better to the point where he is, I mean, as a person, my second favorite. As a character, definitely my third. Because number 5 as a character is like neck and neck with Klaus. But as a person, number 5 is very well spoken, very funny, very good, very studious, especially for his age. But he's not nearly as funny as Luther, Klaus, and Diego. And I am one to go for the comedic end of things. So very, very cool. This was the first video I saw with the two of them that was not solely based on just getting everyone to laugh. They actually spoke for a good 15 or 20 minutes about the show. They had laughs here and there, and they did talk about funny things. But this was more so like getting to know them and getting to know the show, because it was a week before or a couple days before the show dropped on Netflix. So different spin on things, but I really enjoyed it. They got to tell you a lot about everything going on behind the scenes and stuff like that without any spoilers, because it was before the show. So that was probably the most like real interview I've seen of them. You guys recommended it. There you go. You guys let me know what you think now. Comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.